I'm back. So I promised that we were going to do a fun fold card today. So what I did was I went into my creations up front, some of the things that we have already made in the past, and then we put them up front for sale. So this is one of the cards that we made a few months back, probably January. I think we did a lot of Alice in Wonderland stuff. So this is a sliding lock card. So this is a gatefold card that when you close it, you put this little slide lock on there. And this is what holds it closed. So sometimes when you make a gatefold card, you might put a belly band on it to keep it closed. Well, this is a little sliding lock card. So this has, this has a lock that slides down, up and down, so that it keeps it closed, and it's kind of snug on there so that when you've got it closed, it's holding it together. And I like to make, and I'm sure everybody likes to make the lock look kind of decorative so that it gives the front of the card a little bit of a wow factor. So what I thought we would do is, since we're not doing anything with the Alice in Wonderland paper anymore, I went over to our Scrapbook Supply Company stash that we have over here on the wall in the back when you come into the shop. And if you want to see that, go down a couple of videos and you'll notice I did a whole little video showing you everything that came in from Scrapbook Supply Company, and we've got another big order coming in again. So this is the paper from, let's see which, I can't tell what series it's from. But anyway, it's got these cute little girls with her little hat on, some sailboats, some wheels, there's an anchor there. She's got a little purse, there's some seashells, some starfish. So I thought this would make a really great little gatefold card because the elements, the pictures that are on the paper are kind of small. Hey Karen, how are you? We miss you. I hope you're having a great time. Wow, it seems like forever since I've seen you. So I picked this paper because it's got all of these great little elements on it, so that when you're doing a gatefold card, you got to remember those gatefolds, they're only 2 1/8 inches. So if you use smaller prints on it, you're better able to see some of the different things that are going on that piece of cardstock, so you don't lose any of the wow factor. So we're going to use this for the decorative paper on the gatefold card, but we're also going to use some of, let's see here, some of my friend Joyce over, it's a little bit north of Orlando, east of Orlando, her shop, BoQ Creations. She's created her own lines, and we're going to be carrying not only the lines of paper, but she's got some ephemera as well. And in this ephemera pack that she gave me, there's some seagulls and a hat just about like the little girl's wearing on this paper. It's so cute. And then it's got some of the anchors that match the anchors that are on this paper, which is great. So I'm going to be using these to help decorate up that lock that we're going to put in the front, that sliding lock that we're going to put in the front. So we're going to mix and match that with some of the paper and put some of these ephemera pieces on there. We're going to have a really cute card when we're done. I don't have a sample. I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants. Took a little advice from one of my other cohorts that does videos too, and she said sometimes she doesn't even plan what she's going to do. She just turns that camera on, starts talking to it, and takes the pieces of paper that are in front of her and creates. So I kind of know what I'm going to do, but not exactly. So we know we've got a plan. All right, so I want you to hang out with me and see how this plan turns out. Look at this. I got a mess going on here. I always tell Rosie, you're a mess, you're a mess. Now I'm a mess. All right, so I've got that that paper from Scrapbook Supply Company. I've got my white cardstock. I've got some navy blue scraps here, and I also have some nice thick craft scraps here. So I know that the thicker paper does really good for that locking mechanism in the front of the card there. So it holds the gates closed really well. So I love using this craft cardstock. It's as thick as that 110-pound cardstock that we sell. The extra sturdy ones that we use to make all of our folios and everything with. This craft cardstock's just like it, so I'm going to be ordering more. And then I grabbed some Pop Dots. I've got some lighter blue cardstock. I've got my glue here. I've got a trimmer. I've got a pair of scissors. And I've got some gems. So I think we're pretty set. And we're going to turn the camera down onto the workspace and see what it is that we can't come up with. All right. Let's see here. Let's play with some paper. All right. So we've got the camera. Oh, the camera. There we go. All right. We can see where we are here. We're good to go. All right. So I'm going to set everything aside. I'm going to get my trimmer out. Now, I'm using, oh, and I also have a corner rounder, all right? I've been doing a lot of corner rounding lately, but I'm using this all-in-one from We Are Memory Keepers. We sell them here at the shop, and we do have another order, I believe, that's going out tomorrow, so it should be here in a couple of days. For these all-in-one trimmers. Now, the reason they call them all-in-ones, there's a bow maker. There is punches on this side. This one's a hole punch. This one is a corner rounder. This one is one of those ones that cuts the little slits so that you can lock your corners for a box. And then this one here, it looks like another corner rounder, but I'm not sure. It's for making banners. So we've got this one here for making banners. Now it's a little bit different. It takes a little bit of time to get used to because your scoring this way only goes up to 6 inches. However, you can still score it where you slide your paper back and forth. So it comes with the bone folder, and it also comes with the pegs to put in for your bow maker down here. And we played with this the week before last. I think we did the bow class, and we played with this. We did some fork bows, we did some wreath bows, we did some present bows, and then we played with this and used this to make some bows. So this is really cool. So I really have been enjoying this trimmer, and well, let's be serious. I enjoy all the trimmers. So when I sell you on a trimmer, and then I start using a different one. It's not because I've gotten tired of that other one. It's because there's always such new and great things coming out. And I am so blessed to be able to have, to be in the position where I get to try all of these things out, and I get to let you know which ones I like, which ones I don't like. Some I like better than others. I still love my Tim Holtz trimmer. That one cuts beautifully, and the multimedia trimmer with the circle, the wheel on it that cuts through the chipboard, that thing has been running now for 2 years. It still sharply cuts all of my paper, sharply cuts all of my chipboard. It's self-sharpening when you go up and down. Now these We Are Memory Keeper ones, the blades you do go through them a little bit quicker, but that's because they're not self-sharpening the way that the Tim Holtz multimedia one is. I completely love that. That's my all-time favorite trimmer. But this I have really been enjoying because there are so many other elements to it that you can use. There's an envelope maker. If you turn this over, this is the envelope maker. It's got all the sizes on it. You put it on, let me see if I can slide it out here. So it slides out the top. Then you turn it back over this way. All right, and there's directions if you're going to make a banner. you put it in the little slots up here where you do your scoring. You put it in there, and then you can use it to make your banner. Then you've got your envelopes that go in here, so it tells you right where to put it. And it's magnetic. This is all magnetic here, so it holds it in nice and tight. And there's instructions on the back. So you slide this in there, and you can make your envelopes. You can also make tags with it. This is just really a great trimmer, especially for the price point. You get a lot for your money. All right, so I'm gonna slide this back in here. Oh, and it's also, oh my golly, I don't have it right here in front of me, but it's also a stamping platform. Get the heck out of town. Yeah, so it's also a stamping platform, and I thought when I first tried it, I said, oh, you're going to put it down on here and all of these ridges, hear them? These ridges are going to affect the stamping. It doesn't. It stamps nice and crisp. It stamps as nice as any of the other stamping platforms that we've used. So, sorry, talking so much, my mouth got dried out. I had to have a sip of my coffee. Yes, I drink coffee all day long. And yes, I know I should be drinking water. And yes, I know Yvonne's probably watching saying, I bought her a big water cup so she can walk around carrying and drinking water. I try. But look, I look at it this way. Coffee's just water with some extra flavoring. So I drink water all day. And if you don't agree with me, leave a comment in the comments. All right, so let's get back to business here. So I'm going to be using this trimmer. We're going to start by cutting ourselves our A2 size. So we're going to take our 8.5 by 11. We're going to turn it to the long side. That's the 11-inch side. And when I say you're going to turn it from the long side and cut there, you're going to take that long side, and that's what goes up against the ruler. Okay, so if I'm saying cut on the long side, that means put the long side up against the ruler. So we're going to put that up against the ruler, and we're going to go to 5.5 because this is the A2 card size. 5.5, we're going to cut that right here. All right, and then we're going to score it at 2 1/8 on each end. So after we've cut it at 5.5, we're turning it to the 8.5-inch side, which is the new long side. So if I say the word new in front of something, that means the way that it looks after the cut. So this has been cut. Now the new long side is the 8.5-inch side, which used to be the short side. Now it's the new long side. And we're going to turn it, and we're going to take out our bone folder, and we're going to score both ends at 2 1/4. I'm lying to you, 2 1/8. So we go up here, and this one it's beautifully marked, and the numbers are nice and crisp and sharp and big. So 2 1/8 is right between 2 and 2 1/4. So that 1/8 is right there. And I'm going to slide my bone folder down. Now you notice I'm not pushing super hard. I like to remind the ladies in class, you're working with paper, not steel. All right, so we're going to take this and slide that right down there at the 2 1/8. Then we're going to turn it. We're turning it to the opposite side, and then we're going to score it again at 2 1/8. All right, so this is how you make your gatefold. So if you're making a gatefold and you're not going to do anything else to it, this is it. This is the base of your card. So then you're going to bury the worm. So that means you've put your score in this way. You're stretching the fibers. I've had people say, oh, it doesn't matter. No, it doesn't necessarily absolutely matter, but it does matter some. Because when you're pushing down, when you're pushing into that groove here, that paper, your cardstock, those fibers are being pulled apart. So when they're pulled apart, that means that they're stretching a little bit. So underneath, where the ridge is, it's being pushed down. But that part that's being pulled apart, now it's been loosened. So when you fold it away from one another, it's already got some room for that play. So when you do your score, you want to take the side that you've pressed down and fold. Now I say bury the worm because they refer to this little ridge here in your cardstock as the worm. So you're burying the worm. You're going to cover the worm up. All right, now make sure that you've got your edges nice and even. Now if it's something that's important for the edges to be super even, I'll press this up against the edge of my trimmer before I varnish it down. Is it varnish or varnish? I don't think it's varnish. I think it's varnish. So before I varnish it down, I press it up there so that I'm keeping this edge that they're going together nice and straight, nice and flush with one another. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to bury my worm. I'm going to press this up against my ruler up here, and then I'm going to varnish it down, make it nice and crisp. Okay, so here we go. We've got our gatefold card. Now you'll notice there's just a little tiny bit of room in here, about 1/8 of an inch. And that's what you want because you're going to be sliding your mechanism up and down in this card. All right, so now that we've got the base done, we're going to set that aside. Now I know my measurements for my A2 cards. We've got 5.5 by 4 1/4. That's the full size, okay? And then we've got 2 1/8 by 5 1/8. That's our gates. So we have 2 gates, front and back, so that's 4. And then we've got our inside that's 5.5 by 4 1/4. Well, we're going to do some matting. So we're going to do some matting on this, and we're going to break down those sizes. So we've got 2 1/8, and I'm going to mat it with this really nice navy blue that matches this paper beautifully. See the navy blue in her dress? This is perfect match. So we're going to take this navy blue and we're going to trim this down so that we can put mats on the fronts of this and the insides here. All right, we should have plenty. So these are 5.5 inches long. So we're going to take 1/8 of an inch away and we're going to go to 5 3/8. So 5 3/8 is that mark right between 5 1/4 and 5.5. Now I don't have enough. So this is actually 5 1/4. So I'm not going to stress it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go from the craft to the blue instead of going blue to craft. All right, I still think it's going to look beautiful. So let's check the craft. Let's make sure that we can go to 5 3/8. Yes, we've got plenty of room on this one. So 5 3/8, we're going to take 5 3/8 again between the 5 1/4 and 5.5, and we're going to trim this down. All right, now the gates are 2 1/8 inches wide. So we want to subtract 1/8 of an inch, and we're going to make this 2 inches, and we're going to cut 4 of those out. So I'm now turning it, so I'm not saying long side or short side with the first cut because it was a scrap piece of paper. So if you're using a scrap piece of paper, of course you want to get as much out of it as possible. So I did turn it to the short side and I trimmed it at 5 3/8. Now I'm going to turn it to the new long side. The long side now has 8.5 inches, if I'm correct. Yep, 8.5 inches. And I'm going to cut 4 pieces off that are 2 inches. I know that 2 times 4 is 8. I know I've got plenty of paper here. So we're going to go to the 2-inch mark and we're going to cut 2 inches 4 times. Now my glue's in my way there, so I want to make sure that I'm right up against the edge here. Let me slide this over. I want to make sure I'm right up against the edge here. I want to make sure that it's straight, and then I want to make sure that my paper's right there in the center of that groove. That's where a lot of people get confused when they're using their trimmers. Why is it all different sizes? I cut them all at 2 inches. They're not the same. Well, if you look, this groove is 1/8 of an inch wide. So if you start on the right side of the groove on one cut, and then you go to the left side of the groove on another cut, they're all going to be off by 1/8 of an inch. Well, 2 different pieces of paper, one a little bit shorter and one a little bit more, that's a whole 1/4 of an inch. You start playing around with this and you're going to end up with 4 that are all different sizes. So my best recommendation and what the instructions actually say on these trimmers is to go in the center of the groove. So I'm going to make sure that my paper is lined up, flush against the ruler, and I'm in the center of the groove. I'm going to cut. That's my first 2-inch piece. I'm going to do the same thing in the center of my groove. I'm going to cut. That's my second 2-inch piece. And then in the center of the groove, cut. 3-inch piece and one more 2-incher. Let's get that right there in the center. Move over a little bit there, buddy. There we go. All right, and we're cutting, and I've got this little extra piece. I am actually going to throw this away. I don't need it. So I've got my 4 pieces that I want there. Now I'm also going to take another piece, which I had planned on anyway using for the inside, the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 section of the card, and I want to go down 1/8 of an inch. So again, I'm going to cut this piece at 5 3/8. That's the mark right between 5 1/4 and 5 1/2. I'm going to trim off the excess. I'm going to throw that away. I'm going to turn it, and 4 1/4, I'm going to go to 4 1/8, right in the center there, and I'm going to trim that. And that's going to be for the center. Now, I know that my cardstock here for my navy blue is 5 1/4, so I'm going to remeasure it just to double check. Yep, 5 1/4. I cut this at 2/8, so I want to go down 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to cut 4 pieces at 1 7/8. So I'm going to turn it to the long side. I'm going to cut 4 7/8. I've got it flush against my ruler, and I'm right there in the center of the groove. And I'm going to do that 4 times, just like I did with the craft paper. I want to make 4 cuts. That's 2, 3, and 4. Now this piece is a little bit larger, plus I know that I want to use the craft on my locking mechanism. I'm going to save this only because I know I don't have any more of this, and I might use this to decorate up part of that front locking mechanism. So I'm just going to set this up here for now. I'm going to take my 4 pieces and I want to put them together and see. Perfect. See? Right there, just like a deck of cards, nice and straight because I stayed right in the center of that groove. I'm going to do the same thing with my craft paper. Make sure everything is lined up perfectly. Very nice. Now I'm going to take my trimmer and I'm just going to set this aside because I want to do some gluing. I'm going to get out my silicone. All right. And I'm going to use my brown, get out my glue. I'm going to take my navy blue and I'm going to adhere it. And I always like to dry fit a little bit before I start doing anything, just in case I made a mistake. But see how nice it leaves that little 1/8 of an inch border of the craft on the bottom of the blue there. So we're going to get these all glued together. So I'm going to take this, got my glue, move this over here. I'm going to put this right here on top of my craft paper, and I like using the silicone mat even though I've got my glass mat here because I don't like to get globs of glue on this. Yes, you can get it off. Yes, all you have to do is use a little alcohol wipe or a baby wipe, maybe even a little straight-edged razor or something to scrape it off if it's really stuck. But I don't really care to have a lot of things stuck on it. 1, this mat's beautiful. 2, when you're moving, sliding things around and you've got clumps of glue everywhere, it just makes it more difficult for you. So I've got this one glued and we've got 3 more to do. So let's get all 3 of these glued on here. Two more. So leave me a And note in the comments below, have you ever made gatefold cards? If so, what's your favorite favorite gate card that you've made? If you have a picture of it, attach it to the comments. And have you ever done these locking gatefold mechanisms? I love them. I love them because I understand doing a belly band does the same thing, but this just gives it a little bit more of a wow factor. The belly bands are great, especially if you're in a hurry, but this little locking mechanism, the fact that it slides up and down and everything, it just gives it a little extra wow factor. All right, so now we've got these all glued together. Now we're going to glue one to the front and one to the back. Okay, so we're using a layering weight paper, the Gina K layering weight white paper cardstock, and it's a little bit thinner than the heavyweight paper. And the reason you want to do that is when you're putting a lot of layers on your cardstock, you don't have to use that extra heavy paper, because then one, it's going to cost more to mail if you've got too much weight going on there, and two, it's going to be a little bit more bulky, even like putting it in the envelope or anything. So I always use the layering weight when I know that I'm going to be doing a lot of layers. And this is definitely a lot of layers. All right, so we've got this one going here on the front of the left-hand side. Now, because you took it down 1/8 of an inch, you're going to have a white border going around that craft border. Get that right there in the center. Then let's put the other one on the right-hand side. Did I call that one the right-hand side? I meant the left-hand side. Now we're going to put this one on the outside right-hand side. And again, you're going to have a little bit of that white border going around your card. And don't forget, you've got about 1/8 of an inch in between here, but that's for the mechanism to slide up and down. Now we're going to open it up, and we're going to place one on the inside. Inside of the left-hand side of the card. And I like to use my bone folder to make sure everything is pressed down and adhering nice. All right, now we're going to put the last one on the right-hand side of the inside of this card. Okay. And you'll notice I'm not stingy with the glue, but I'm also not using a whole lot. And the reason that is I use our Reptile glue. Those of you who are here at the shop know that that's really the only glue that we ever use after you start coming to Crafts by Kathleen, and that's because it works so well. So I've got all 4 of these down. All right, now the back, this is a little bit flimsy, so I want to layer that a little bit, and that's why I cut this one out of the craft. I'm going to put this in, but then we're going to cut a piece of white, and then we might even fussy cut out the little girl and put her on the inside. Let's see after we get this all done whether or not we've got time to do that. All right, so we're going to put this on the inside. Now just look at the colors in this up against this. Isn't this gorgeous? This card is going to be absolutely beautiful. All right, let's press this down, make sure that our glue is adhered to both pieces of cardstock. Oh, what a nice feeling card. Very nice. All right, now we're going to set this aside. We're going to get our trimmer back out. And we cut that craft cardstock that we put on the inside, we cut that down by 1/8 of an inch, so it's 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. We're going to take our white cardstock. We're going to go down 1/4 of an inch on that. So we're going to go from 5 3/8 to 5 1/8. So we're going to cut this at 5 1/8. This is going to give us a little bit wider of a border for that craft paper that's going around it. And then we had it at 4 1/8, so we're going a whole 1/4 of an inch. That's going to take it to 3 7/8. Okay. Now let's bring the card back in. And I want to see, is that enough? Am I happy with that, or do I want it a little more? No, I like that. I like that right there. All right, so we're going to glue this white card in here. White cardstock, sorry, it's not a card. All right, we're going to put this white cardstock in here, and this is so that we can put our sentiment, do our stamping. If you are stamping it, I would not glue this down until after you've stamped it. All right, so we've got our white piece of cardstock in here. I'm going to use my bone folder. Now I'm going to set this aside again. And we're going to get, you know what, we never did use this light blue. Well, maybe we'll use it on the other thing, but I just think that navy blue is so pretty with this. All right, so now we're going to cut our beautiful cardstock from Scrapbook Supply Company. Look at the back of it. Look at those tiny little shells. Is this not the most beautiful paper? Oh my word, it's just absolutely beautiful. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, let's do a little bit of math. We've got 2 1/8, and we've cut it down 2, and then we cut it down to 1 7/8. So our next piece of paper is going to be 1 3/4 wide. So 1 3/4 wide by how long? We had 5 1/2, then we took it to 5 3/8, 5 1/4. So we're going to go to 5 1/8. So we're going to make that cut first. So I always cut from the bottom. So I'm going to take this to 5 1/8. I'm going to make sure that I'm flush against the ruler and that I'm right there in the center of my groove, okay, all the way from the top to the bottom. All right. I'm going to make sure my blade's at the top. And this seems just a little crooked to me, but that's okay. I'm just going to play with it until I have it exactly where I want it, because I want nice straight cuts. All right, so that's 5 1/8, and then we're going to, I want to trim this off just a little bit because I was feeling a little bit of a rocking on it, so I feel like, yeah, see, this is further away from the groove, and this is on this other side of the groove. So I'm going to take this and just trim it off just about 1/8 of an inch, just so that I know that I'm working with this. Ooh, did you see that? That's why you should always start at the top. All right, so I'm just going to trim it off, and you can see it was a little bit thicker at the top than it was at the bottom. So it's probably user error, but when you're cutting a great deal of paper the way that the manufacturers do, sometimes they're off a little bit, and that's why I like to always measure it and make sure that I'm working with what I'm supposed to be working with. All right, so now that we've got a nice straight edge here, what did we say? This is 5 1/8, and we're going to go to 1 7/8, and we're going to cut 4 pieces, just like we did. Well, do we want to put her on the inside? No, I think we're going to leave this blank. We're going to leave that on the inside, just the navy blue. We're just going to decorate the outside. So we're only going to cut 2 pieces at 1 7/8. And I really do like to cut from the top down. So that's the first one at 1 7/8. Now, I'm looking at this, and I've got her just about dead center on this piece. Now, at 1 7/8 on this piece, I don't have her at all. So I want to trim off some, and I'm looking here, right here at the edge of this anchor here is where that's cut. So I'm going to trim that right there. That's not the edge of the anchor. What was I doing? Oh, I was putting it up against here, and that's not where the cutting gully is. All right, so let's put this right here, making sure it's nice and straight. Let's throw these 2 pieces away. Now let's slide this over. I don't know. Is this? No, because this is not the same. We want this piece over here. All right, so we're going to cut right here. So you have to kind of watch your pattern. So if you want both of these to look exactly alike, you're going to have to kind of see where it is and play with it until you have it. Now this is just a smidgen, Just a smidgen. Matter of fact, it's such a smidgen. I'm not going to use this. I'm going to use my guillotine cutter. And what I like to do is when I have something that's super, super tiny that I'm going to cut, it's so much easier to cut it on the guillotine cutter than it is to try to guesstimate it right there, because on your guillotine cutter here, the We Are Memory Keepers guillotine cutter, this edge, this little plate here that goes over top of it is right at the edge. So when you're looking to cut it, you take that to exactly where you want it, hold it down, and look, this is all that I wanted to cut off. Look how little that is. So I wouldn't have gotten an accurate cut using the sliding trimmer. So we've got this done like this. Now I'm going to go back to the sliding trimmer because I want an accurate measurement that's going to match the same thing, and I'm going to cut this at 1 7/8, and let's take a look. Look at this. Just about perfect. Nothing's ever perfect, but this is just about perfect. All right, so now we've got these matching, because see, if I would have used this little girl, she was kind of more centered, and then she just had a skirt up there. So you see what I'm trying to say. All right, so we've got her. She's going on the sides there. So let's get her glued down. Oh, these little shells on the back of this are just adorable. I love this paper. Oh no, look at this. I didn't dry fit it and I made it too wide. All right, so we had 2 1/8, 1 7/8. This should have been 1 3/4. Oh my golly. All right, so let me just show you what to do. I've got glue on here. I'm gonna grab a baby wipe. I'm not gonna saturate this, but I'm gonna just wipe this glue off as quickly as I can. Okay, wipe my fingers off. All right, let's dry this a little bit. And I want to make this 1 7/8. It is 1 7/8. I want to make it 1 3/4. All right, so I'm going to take it right to that 3/4, and I'm going to trim right there. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. I want to go right through this anchor there and trim it at 1 3/4. And then I'm going to use this one that I haven't messed up with glue, and I'm going to dry fit it and make sure that it's the right size. All right, there we go. See, now we've got our nice little blue trim around there. So let's get this taken care of. This one that we just wiped all the glue off of so that we could put it back through the trimmer. I don't recommend doing that because it does have a tendency of curling your paper, but I knew that we were going to be gluing it right down so the curl would not be setting. Okay, so we've got that right there. Got a little fuzz there. Get rid of that. Hey, little fuzz. There you go. All right. Get our bone folder. Ooh, got glue coming out. I put too much glue on there. Still got the baby wipes open, so I'm going to grab another baby wipe. Oh my goodness. That looked like when you're pulling the scarves out of a clown's pocket. All right, so let's get that glue off there. I'm just going to wipe that with my finger. Now it's going to dry clear. I'm not worried about it. This is reptile glue, so we've got a nice craft glue that's going to dry nice and clear, so that'll be nice and clear. Let's get this side glued down, and I'm not going to put as heavy of a bead of glue on there. Let's get her put right there in the middle. Oh, look at this. This is just beautiful. All right. See what we've got going so far? See these nice little thin edges with our trim, with our matting, and then inside the cards like that. All right, so we've got her on there. Now let's make that locking mechanism. All right, so we're going to start by deciding what do we want our locking mechanism to look like? Do we want it to be a square? Do we want it to be a circle? Do we want it to be a diamond? On the Alice in Wonderland cards, I actually used some of the ephemera to make the locking mechanism, so it looked like a couple of cards with the bottle that says "Drink Me" on it. Now this is what the mechanism looks like. You're going to use a flat piece, and then you're going to glue on top of it 2 pieces that are folded in half, and then you're going to mat this, because you want the back of this to look just as nice as the front of this, because you're going to be able to see both sides when you take it off. All right, so I think what we're going to do for this is make it a diamond, because I'm going to make this a happy birthday card. I'm going to make this a happy birthday card. So let's make a 3x3 square, and we're going to adhere it sideways so that it's a diamond. So we're going to first cut our square 3 inches by 3 inches. All right. Then I want to put this on here and see how much of this it's going to cover. All right. It goes right to the edges at 3 inches. I like that. All right, and it leaves enough of the little girl uncovered because we're going to put some decorative elements on here. All right, and I've got this much of my blue left. So what I think I'm going to do is take this, let's see, how big is this? This is 5 1/4. So we've got 2 5/8. I'm going to cut 2 pieces at 2 5/8. All right, and that's going to build up on here. And if I'm not mistaken, this is some type of nautical flag lettering. Not sure which letter it is, but I remember I had a gentleman that came in and I was doing cricket classes with him, and that's what he was doing, was cutting out nautical flag letters out of his cricket. All right, so we've got this navy blue. So what I think we're going to do is I'm going to take this piece of scrap cardstock. It's actually a card base that someone didn't use, and we cut this at 3 by 3. We cut these down at 2 5/8, I believe. So right between 2 5/8 and 3 inches is either 2 7/8 or 2 3/4. Right between that would be 2 14/16. So I'm going to cut right between the 2 3/4 and 2 7/8, and I'm going to do another square. So right here, instead of cutting right in the center of where the gully is, I'm going to cut where this little mountain is. All right, so right between there will be right there, making sure it's even all the way down. And then I'm going to turn it to the long side and cut in the same spot, right between the 7/8 and the 3/4. All right, now that should give us a nice border right there. And then I'm going to take these 2 pieces and put the same border there and there, making sure that all matches. Now I'm going to get that ephemera out that I was talking about. Now, I've got this adorable little hat that kind of matches what she's wearing. I've got these really cute seagulls. And in here, I have an anchor, but there's also some words. So let me see what we've got in here. I've got this anchor. I love this anchor. And what are the words that we have here? Oh, look. This says, if I'm not mistaken, beach life. Wow, how delicate these. Oh, Joyce, what a beautiful job you did on these. All right, so we've got beach life here. Now, I do something very similar to this. This is done with a different machine than I have. I have the Glowforge. Oh, look here, this one says beach life. This one, I'm just going to use the word beach. and I'm going to put it on there. Now, I do something very similar using my Glowforge, and I cut out little wooden ephemera for people. We do the peekaboo disc. We've done those, and I believe next month we're actually going to be using the peekaboo disc again and doing one of our cards and coffees with it. What I like to do is when I have my wooden ephemera, instead of using the acrylic paint, which you can, the acrylic marker, paint markers are really good for this, or you can just use regular acrylic paint. I like to use my Wink of Stella. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out my blue Wink of Stella. So we have Wink of Stella that comes in colors. It's not just clear. I'm going to get out the blue, and I'm going to do the little ribbon and bow on this hat to match hers, because if you notice, her hat is brown and then the ribbon is the blue. So I'm going to take my blue Wink of Stella, and I'm just going to, and actually let me grab this silicone. I'm just going to go right over where the ribbon and the bow are. All right, and this way, if you look at it in the right light, I don't know if you can see it, but I can definitely see it here. It has a shimmer to it. Okay, so we've got the hat done. Now I'm going to take my gold Wink of Stella, and I'm going to go over the anchor. So on here, the anchor's done in like a craft color, a sandy beach color. I'm just going to go over it in gold, and I'm just going right around, trying to stay in the lines, the engraved lines. And oh wow, you should see the gold shimmer coming through on these. This is really going to look nice, really sharp. All right, so we've got the gold here. Okay, and that's that on this. All right, and I'm going to leave the seagull alone. Now for the beach, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the background in the natural wood color, but the thinner lined word here, I'm going to go over in black. So I've got black Wink of Stella, and I'm just going to go right over the entire word beach. Okay, and I'm using the silicone mat because I know that I'm not going to be able to just stay right on the wood and not go down a little bit. And I'm sure once I lift this up, you'll see the mess that would have been all over my trimmer. Okay, just going over this whole word, going over it in black, and that way it'll really stand out against the natural wood of the shadow that's behind it. And Joyce, you did a beautiful job on these. Wow. I'm quite impressed, quite impressed. It takes a lot to get these really super thin wooden words to come out just right, because I have had a really hard time with it. If you make them too small, they don't hold together. Some of them, when you're burning it, because it's a laser, some of it when you're burning it, it really messes up the detail on it. All right, so I've got this all done. See all of this black on here? That would have been all over. But see, it looks so nice. Now, I'm going to let that dry a little bit. While I'm letting that dry, I'm going to set it aside so that I can get this piece put together. And then we're going to make the mechanism, the folds that go on there. All right, so first things first, let's make sure I don't have any black all over my fingers so to mess up the cardstock. We're going to glue our light blue to the craft. Okay. Then we're going to take our 2 pieces of navy blue, and if you notice, this was the scrap. This was the piece that we had trimmed off, and we knew that we weren't going to have enough to do this, but I saved it anyway so that I could utilize it in some manner. And we found a way to do it. We definitely found a way to do it. And I think it looks nice. I think it looks real nice. All right, so we're going to do that. Okay, now they're right on there. Now let's look at how this is going to go. We're going to have this side. Do I want it this way? Or do I want it this way? No, too matchy-matchy. I like it this way. All right, so we're going to do this. Then we're going to have the word beach going across it. Now, we're going to have the hat up here. Maybe the anchor down here. Are we going to use this little guy? I don't think there's room for him. Maybe on top of the beach. We'll see what that looks like. After we get the black beach glued down, we'll see what that looks like. But this looks really good. So I think what we're going to do is I'm just going to use my reptile glue and get these glued on while we're waiting for that black Wink of Stella to finish drying. And I'm just going to put a few little dots on these wooden ephemera pieces. And we're going to put that down. Let's get the hat glued on there. All right. Now let's get the black word glued on the shadow. All right, so let's turn this over, and I'm going to take my glue. Oop. Got a little piece on there. All right, so I'm just going to go on here with very thin little dots. I don't know if you can see how little it is. Okay, just some little dots going on here. Okay, now we're going to turn this over, and we're going to place this right in the center of the shadow. Oh, this is just beautiful. Joyce, if you're watching, I am letting you know that you have done a beautiful job with this ephemera. Beautiful job. All right, let's get that glued down. All right, let's see how that looks. What do you think, guys? Do you love it? I'm loving it. All right, so let's get this glued on here. Then we'll sit this down to let this dry. And then we'll get that mechanism put on there and get the card all finished and see what we ended up with. All right, so we've got the glue on the back of beach. We're gonna sit this right here in the center. All right, press that down. Look at this. Isn't that adorable? Absolutely adorable. All right, I'm gonna wipe off the Wink of Stella. I love these little silicone pieces. I've got this little one, and I've got bigger ones for when I'm doing bigger projects, but it just keeps everything so neat. Oh, we wanted to see what this would look like with the little seagull on it, on the bee. I don't know, maybe on the H? What do you think? Too much? I think it's too much. Leave me a comment, and I can always go back and add it. So if you think it looked better with the seagull on it, we'll go back and put it on. But for right now, we're going to leave it like that. All right, let me get these Wink of Stellas put away. Let's grab ourselves another piece of this craft cardstock. Now we're going to cut out 2 pieces that are going to measure 2 inches by 2 inches. And then we're going to score them at 1 inch. So we're going to cut this right here at 2 inches. And then I'm going to cut another 2-inch piece. I'm going to score that at 1 inch. And that's going to be one side of our mechanism. And then I'm going to cut another 2-inch piece. cut another 2-inch piece, score that at 1 inch, and that's going to be the other side of our mechanism. So one's going to go on the left and one's going to go on the right, but you want them pointing in separate directions. So I call this the butterfly. Now I'm going to take this other piece and cut off another 2x2 piece, but I'm not going to score that one. That one I'm just going to adhere on to the butterfly. All right, so we've got our 2x2 piece, and we're going to spread that butterfly wing down like that. Let's get these nice and crisp. So let's take our bone folder and go across them. Do that to both of these. All right, so now we've got our butterfly wings here, and we're going to adhere this piece that we didn't score. So we're going to put glue all over that. And we're going to press this down. And I should really be doing this on the silicone because I don't want it all over my trimmer. All right, so we're going to press this down. Now we're just going to adhere this right to the back so that everything stays together. All right. Now I don't necessarily have to decorate this or anything to make it look nice, but I am going to take this little piece. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take this and I'm going to get this nice little shell piece and I'm going to cover this. So this was 2x2. I'm going to take that down to 1 7/8 by 1 7/8. So we're going to incorporate these beautiful shells from side B on here. All right. We're just going to glue that right in there. That right in there. Now this side, the side that's got the butterfly, we're going to adhere on here. So now this is going to be on the front of the card this way. So let's lay it down and we're going to put glue here and then we're going to adhere this right here to the back of that. All right. So let's put plenty of glue right here on the butterfly wings. I think we ought to call this a locking butterfly mechanism. I don't know. I always forget what other people call these cards and, you know, other cards that we make, and I come up with my own names for them. So don't always try to Google or search for a card that I've named, because probably 9 times out of 10 it's going to be the wrong name. I just call it what it reminds me of. Just like this mechanism, they remind me of butterfly wings. So when I'm putting it together, I call it butterfly wings. And hopefully you can follow along and know what it is that I'm talking about. My husband tells me I need to do a list of words that are Kathleenisms. So long side, short side, things that I usually use when I'm teaching a class so that I know what I'm talking about, but I need you to know what I'm talking about. So we're going to call them Kathleenisms, and hopefully someday I'll take his advice and come up with a list. All right, now I want you to look. In here is where you're going to slide those gates. So we've got this side glued down and then the butterfly wings open. And we've got this side glued down and the butterfly wings open. Now, are you going to always be able to just put it on here and slide it down? No, you're not. I'm going to be honest with you. The first couple of times you do it, until you get it a little bit stretched out, you're going to take it and put it on one side first, and then you're going to open up the other side, and you're going to slide this one in there, okay? So we got to just kind of work it in a little bit, just like that. But then it'll slide up and down, all right? But you want it snug so that it's not coming off, all right? So let's look at this. Let's look at this. What do we think? This is the finished card. So we've got our little sliding mechanism. We've got our little hat on there. We've got our mechanism that goes up and down, slides up and down. It unlocks, it opens up, and then you've got this here. Now, I did say that I wanted to put a fussy cut version of the little girl here. Let's see, do we have one? Oh, we do. Look at this on this scrap. Here she is. There she is. Grab a pair of scissors. Now, she doesn't look like she's going to be difficult to fussy cut. So I'm just going to do my best to kind of get her all done while we're finishing up talking. All right, so she's got her little dress we're going to go around, go into the hair area here where her hair's coming out of her hat. All right, and we're going to have her up against white paper, so I'm not so concerned about how much white is coming out. Now, I do like a little trim of white when I'm fussy cutting, but I do try to get as close to the picture as possible. We're more than halfway done, guys. Let's keep going here. All right, now she's holding her hat on with her little arm, so we don't want to cut that off. We want to make sure we're going around her forearm, her elbow, and then back down the other side of the dress, and there we go. We're almost finished. One more turn, and we've got it. All right, here she is. Look how cute she is. All right, I'm going to glue her right there, because I just think she's absolutely adorable. So let's put some glue on her. Let's put her right there. Use our bone folder and get her pressed down nice and solid. We don't want anything popping off here. All right. Get that pressed down. What do we think? Does that finish it off? I love it. All right, now all we have to do is put our little stamp on the back here. So I've got a stamp that says Handmade from the Heart, Crafts by Kathleen, and then I have another stamp somewhere that says Handmade Just for You. Now, where is that? It used to be right over here. There it is. And that's the one I'm going to use. This is from one of the Gina K kits, and it says Handmade with Love, not just for you. Handmade with Love. So I'm going to stamp that right back there. All right. So I've got my Gina K Black Onyx. Load my stamp up here. And we're just going to try to eyeball it, make sure it's nice and centered. Handmade with Love. And there we go. All right, so this card is all finished. So we've got the little girl on the inside. We've got this beautiful gatefold, and then we've got our little mechanism here. Let's see, are we ready to just make it slide? We might be close. Oh, someone's trying to get in touch with us. All right. Nope, we just have to push it in a couple more times, and then it'll... All right, come on. Like I said, you're going to have to, do this a couple of times this way, and then after it starts to loosen up, then you can just slide it from the top right on top of there. But you want it to stay kind of snug so that when you get it on there, it stays locked. All right, so here's the finished card. And, wow, I really had fun making this with you guys today. So I see a lot of people have been on, Vicki, Sandy Schaefer, quite a few people. So thank you for stopping by. Thank you for hanging out with me this afternoon. I had a wonderful time making this card. I knew it was a little bit longer than what we had originally planned. We did take about an hour to make this, but I think we came out with a beautiful card, guys. Not bad for not knowing exactly what it was going to look like when we started. All right, I hope that I've inspired you to get out some of your scraps and do a little fun fold. It's always a good time when you're sitting there creating. So I'm going to head home, and I believe my husband's got dinner made for me. I'm going to stop and grab one of the side dishes. Man, he can cook some meat, but have the man put a vegetable on. It's quite funny. All right, so again, get out your scraps, play with some paper. Tomorrow is Crafts by Kathleen Bingo. We've got some great prizes. If you scroll down a little bit in my Facebook feed, you'll see that. If you're on YouTube, hop on over to my Facebook and scroll down. You'll see some of the prizes from for bingo tomorrow. We're going to do 3 cards. One's going to be Gina K, one's going to be Pink and Main, one's going to be Scrapbook Supply Company, and then we're going to have 4 games of bingo. We've got prizes from Pink and Main, Gina K, Scrapbook Supply Company, and then I believe the 4th prize is going to be a gift card from the shop. And Sunday Fun Day, still 2 seats left. So if you're looking for something to do this weekend, Sunday Fun Day is going to be the place to be. All right, I'll talk to you all real soon. Bye-bye.